Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw here on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Trev Downey. I'm joined tonight to talk about Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1 by Dave Hendrick and Harry Sethi. It's another shocker in a long run of shockers, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, that's an absolutely abysmal performance against a fairly average team who are in pretty poor form themselves. And we have rolled over for them in the first half. And then when we did get ourselves some footing in the game, the manager made some very, very odd decisions, including bringing on Endo when we felt like we were in the ascendancy in the closing minutes of the game. I didn't mind bringing off McAllister, who hadn't had a good game, but bringing on Endo was just a baffling decision. You had
One of,
Chiesa on the bench. You could have actually gone for the jugular.
yeah,
I mean, McAllister wasn't the only player playing badly who was still on the pitch at that point. You could have taken off either winger. You could have taken off Gravenberg. All of them had bad games. He takes off McAllister, fair enough, but bring on someone that might actually help us win the game. We haven't seen this from Arne Slot. Last season in games where we were ahead in the dying minutes, he refused to bring Endo on. Today, when it's a draw and we're looking to win the game, then he brings him on. To what end? And then it's him who is part of the reason we concede the goal because he gets caught. Just really, really poor across the board. The manager, look, he won the league last year, so this season he's going to get a free hit. But right now we look coached every bit as poorly as we did under Jurgen when he gave the keys to Linders in 22-23. That's how poor we look in the last, not just the last three games. The last three results have highlighted the performances. The performances prior to that, with a couple of exceptions, had been equally as poor. And we gotten away with it because of the attacking talent. But the attacking talent is not showing up right now.
it's causing profound levels of existential questioning, this, Harry. Because just
Mm.
before you joined us, myself and Guy were just like talking about what has happened to the form of these lads. Dave has just highlighted how maybe at the very top of the club there in Arne, we're sort of lacking a bit of direction as well, and that's me
Mm.
pulling it kindly. There does seem to be a level of disconnect between I said, well, you can only assume between what is, you can only assume a good plan theoretically and what's actually being carried out on the pitch. And there's only so much of that you can put down to lads being out of form or lads joining the team. We went today, didn't we, with the league winning midfield to, in theory, shore things up,
Mm.
and it did no such thing, man.
Yeah, it was an interesting one because I think over this stretch of games, I think this is the first Raw I've been on this season for various reasons. But in terms of like how I've been perceiving it is I think last season one thing that was said about us very often was that we were settled, right? In that we kind of we knew what Slot was going to be doing. There weren't that many changes. When there were changes, they were decisive and progressive changes. I mean, I think back to the that Fulham game, right, where we were down to 10 men. Robbo gets sent off, and he makes changes that actually see us dominate the game, and should probably have grabbed a winner that day. Those are the kind of changes that we're used to sort of seeing him make in games. Let's be fair, this is really the first stretch that we've seen where there's concerted pressure on the manager to obviously turn things around and provide some clarity on kind of how we should expect this side to be playing. I'm in I'm in a weird camp where I can look at that game and there's a lot of negatives to take from it in terms of some individual performances, lack of cohesion. As Dave mentioned, with the attack bailing us out in the previous games, I did think again, looking at today's match over the entirety of it, there are two, three, four maybe chances there where if the right decision is made, or just the logically kind of like the sensible decision is made, I think we should be expecting this side and these attackers to score like a number of goals. I'm thinking about of the Szoboszlai cut back. I'm thinking about Kirkes underhitting his pass to Mo for a tap in. There's a couple others that will come to me as we go through the match. But I mean, really, in reality, despite sort of sitting off Chelsea weirdly after that goal goes in, is only really in that last like 10-15 minutes where, as David mentioned there, you too many changes, too much disruption, a negative change with Endo coming on, and in the end, it's a combination of the midfielder you've got playing a centre back, playing on a player, and a left back who is like just physically slower than his opponent in that moment because of sort of the kind of character he's up against that leads to the goal. So I, I guess what I'm saying there is, in spite of a lot of pretty bad performances and the lack of cohesion that remains quite alarming, I was really disappointed at how we just gave that game to them. I felt I didn't necessarily think that Chelsea, despite some really impressive individual performances, were creating all that much. To be honest, it's that last 15 minutes where we kind of just surrendered the momentum and the game to them for them to impose themselves on it. And yeah, really disappointed about that. And I think if I was to lay the blame for this game at anyone's door, despite those individual stinkers we've talked about, I would be putting this at the manager's door because I think that there were strange selections with Mac coming in, clearly not fit. I mean, Jones is right there. Gakpo gets the goal, as he often does in these games where he's maybe not playing super well for 70, 80 minutes, but he does pop up with the goal. But really, you felt as though it could probably have used an injection of dynamism in that front three. It just didn't come necessarily. And we're watching Isaac go through preseason. So, yeah, I think that one has to be put onto the manager there. Just a lack of like clarity from the start, and then he compounded things in that second half. And this is a Chelsea with many changes like to that side, missing some key players, multiple defensive injuries. They could easily, have had excuses for being a bit ragged themselves, but instead it's them who are, pressing on and have the initiative for those final 15 minutes. So, yeah, really disappointing. And I think that more questions than answers, Trev.
Yeah, they fall apart in terms of injuries as the game goes on. They were there for
Mm.
the taking, and we did not take them.
Mm.
Dave, to go back to you, because you brought up the coaching scene, and Harry has echoed it there with his critique of how the managers conducted his decision making before and during the game. And it's worth pulling apart because the no this show can never be accused of being reactionary. We talk in the moment about things, but we do try to maintain a balance. So if you're going to get all bent out of shape about Slot getting a little bit of criticism here, this isn't the show for you because you don't like balanced conversation. So just we'll see you again. But it is important that we talk this out because the phrase galaxy brain kept coming into my head, and it's not for nothing. It's because there were decisions there, as Harry's alluded to, as you've alluded to, that were baffling. Right from the one at the end that you talked about, the substitution of Endo, bizarre. When throw on Chiesa, who's like at least motivated and
And in
recently
form.
and massively in form. And the reason he doesn't start is fucking beyond me. And certainly doesn't get a large cameo is beyond me. But it is. Can we excuse Slot in terms of today's performance and maybe recent ones in that he is really struggling to find the balance, and he is really struggling to he was struggling to not drop Florian Wirtz. He was struggling with the idea that perhaps his best fucking right back is not a right back, and that there's the ongoing issue of getting Isak onto the pitch as much as possible so he can finally get some fitness. Like, are these teething issues that he's trying to work his way through? Is there an excuse to be found there in terms of his selections?
I mean, if it was a thing where, there were just issues at right back and with Isak and certain things like that, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, we can see an identity to the team and there's some good football being played here. but there's no identity and there's no good football being played. And I mean, Harry mentioned it when he was talking there about, like, you know, the selection choices. They make no sense. I mean, look, Conor Bradley was absolutely rancid when he came on against Galatasaray. He was rancid against Palace and got hooked at halftime. Jack Grealish turned him inside out routinely. Like, he hasn't been good but he hasn't been good all season. And I know Frimpong hasn't been great, but I mean, if you're going to start Szoboszlai in midfield, Conor Bradley can't be the answer, because he's shown that he's not the answer right now. Maybe he's the answer in a month, 3 months, 2 years. Maybe he'll be the answer in the future. But in this moment, he's not the answer. You know, we've seen Konate stink the place out against Galatasaray, stink the place out against Crystal Palace. Joe Gomez is sat there. Give him an opportunity. Yeah. Like, how do you know how Joe's going to play if you don't give him a chance next to Virgil? You know, I know he played him in the League Cup, but he played him next to an 18-year-old. And yes, that 18-year-old had a really good performance, but Joe was also playing his unfavoured side. He was playing the left side of the centre-back pairing in that game. Let's have a look at Joe next to Virgil, a proven partnership that have won a league title together. You know, you look into the midfield. I mean, Curtis started in the week and wasn't great, and maybe that's Arne's logic. But McAllister's clearly not fit, and bar the first half against Everton, hasn't been good this season. Looked okay when he came on against Galatasaray, but that was about it. Cody, I mean, I just don't know. I just don't know. Like, he gets the goal today, which is more than Salah can claim, but, you know, he hasn't been good this season. Gravenberch was coming off multiple stinkers, but he's terrified to drop him. He's terrified to leave certain favourites out of the team. For what reason, I don't know, because it's not like they're adding anything. And then it's not just the selection choices, it's the tactical choices as well. So first half, he has clearly assigned this, because this is not something Ryan Gravenberch normally does. Ryan Gravenberch is chasing Enzo Fernandez all over the pitch. And Enzo Fernandez is just dropping into positions where he has no intention of receiving the ball. And Gravenberch is trailing him into these areas. And Chelsea are just playing back into the space where Gravenberch should have been and would have been. But he's clearly had this instruction from the manager. And if you look at their first goal, that's exactly what it comes from. Enzo drops it, goes to drop a bit deeper. Gravenberch just automatically goes with him because that's what he's been told to do. And then McAllister's left 2v1. And they play into that space. McAllister can't get across from one to the other. Caicedo runs on and scores. Like, that's a tactical choice to say to Ryan Gravenberch, right, you track Enzo Fernandez. Like, what are we doing here? Fair enough, pick him up in our defensive half or our defensive third. You don't need to be trailing him when he's going to pick the ball up off the centre-backs.
Alright, the Reds, it's Jack here, and that was a clip from one of Anfield Index's audio podcasts. If you have enjoyed the video, make sure you do like, share and subscribe to keep up to date on all things LFC. We record around 100 audio podcasts every month, with our shows featuring match-going fans, top journalists, professional analysts and even Liverpool legends along the way. With the great Dane himself, Jan Molby, joining us every single week. If you want to listen to all our podcasts for free, head over to anfieldindex.com/podcasts. Our audio shows are available wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Anfield Index. Or if you prefer to listen to all our podcasts in full and without any ads, why not head over to AI Pro today to check it out now at AnfieldIndexPro.com. If you want to get involved in the great growing community of Liverpool fans, check out the Anfield Index Discord. The link is in the description. Do get involved with that from Reds around every corner of the globe. For now, Reds, hope you enjoyed this video.